Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, 6-Path Weeb. Here, we explore and discuss fanfiction, with a focus on the story, Naruko Uzumaki, the Sealbreaker. Please note that all content shared on this channel is intended for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos, all rights belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's dive in. Naruko Uzumaki had always been different. Born into the legendary Uzumaki clan, her blood pulsed with the ancient power of seals and chakra chains, a legacy both a gift and a curse. From an early age, she exhibited a talent unlike any other in her village, an uncanny ability to manipulate and, more importantly, break seals, no matter how complex or ancient. Where others saw boundaries and imprisonment, Naruko saw opportunity, freedom, and sometimes, salvation. The Hidden Leaf village had long relied on seals to contain dangers beyond their comprehension. Deadly creatures, forbidden jutsus, and even the memories of fallen heroes. Seals were their silent guardians, but they were also shackles. Naruko's knack for breaking them was viewed with suspicion, fear, and awe. Many elders whispered that her abilities were the key to unlocking forbidden powers, but also to unleashing untold destruction. Her journey truly began on a night heavy with a crimson moon, when a strange energy pulsed through the village. An ancient seal, said to have been cast by the Sage of Six Paths himself, shattered in the heart of the Uzumaki clan's ancestral home. The village trembled, and with that, so did Naruko's fate. Drawn by an inexplicable force, Naruko found herself at the center of a crumbling labyrinth of chakra chains and shattered runes. The air was thick with the scent of old magic and forgotten pain. Within the ruins, she uncovered a scroll, etched with warnings in the ancient Uzumaki script, foretelling the rise of a sealbreaker who would either restore balance or bring ruin. She was that sealbreaker. Naruko's eyes burned with determination as she clutched the scroll, feeling the weight of generations pressing down on her shoulders. She understood the choice before her, to wield her power responsibly and become a beacon of hope, or let the darkness consume her and the world. But destiny rarely offers clear paths. As days turned into weeks, strange phenomena began to ripple through the village. Sealed beasts vanished without a trace. Shadows moved with sinister purpose, and whispers of a growing threat echoed through the leaves. The elders sought to control Naruko's power, urging her to seal away her abilities. Yet, Naruko knew that some seals needed breaking, especially those forged by fear and silence. Her journey took her beyond the Hidden Leaf, into forgotten ruins and ancient temples scattered across the land. Along the way, she encountered allies and adversaries, a rogue shinobi with a cursed seal, a sage who had lost his way, and a mysterious entity bound by chains of its own making. Each encounter tested her resolve and expanded her understanding of what it truly meant to break a seal. Naruko's power was not just the ability to undo binding marks, it was the power to unlock potential, within herself and others. But with that came a dangerous temptation, to break the seals that protected the world from darkness, for the sake of personal gain or misguided mercy. Her heart battled her mind as she faced impossible choices. Would she release the tailed beasts to their freedom and risk calamity? Could she break the seal imprisoning a long-lost friend, knowing it might cost her everything? Through it all, Naruko's spirit remained unbroken. The Sealbreaker was not a destroyer, but a harbinger of change. She was the bridge between past and future, chains and freedom, fear and hope. One fateful night, standing atop the village walls beneath the red moon, Naruko made her vow. She would master her powers, protect those she loved, and rewrite the fate written in the ancient seals. For in breaking the old bindings, new bonds would be forged, stronger, wiser, and unbreakable. Her journey had only just begun. Naruko's life had never been simple, but the events unfolding now demanded more than mere survival, they demanded transformation. Each day brought new revelations about the seals that held the world together and the secrets hidden beneath layers of chakra and time. The Uzumaki clan, once renowned for their sealing techniques, had long been thought extinct, scattered by wars and fear. Yet here she was, carrying their legacy in her veins, destined to wield power that could unravel or restore the very fabric of their world. Her village buzzed with unease. The elders convened in secret, their eyes heavy with worry, their voices hushed like a wind caught in fragile branches. They spoke of prophecies and dangers too great to face openly, yet their resolve wavered in the presence of one fact: Naruko's power was growing, unpredictable and fierce. It was no longer a question of if, but when she would break a seal no one dared touch, a seal whose breaking could change everything. Naruko's days were consumed by training, not only to hone her physical skills but to control the chaotic surge of chakra that threatened to spill over. Her mentor, an aging but sharp-witted shinobi named Kaido, recognized her potential and the burden she carried. He had once been a master of sealing techniques himself, but had long since retired to live in quiet solitude. Yet when Naruko sought him out, desperate for guidance, he saw in her eyes a spark he had not witnessed in decades. "Power like yours is rare," Kaido said, his voice low but steady. "But it's not the strength to break seals that makes you dangerous, it's the will behind it. You must understand the purpose behind each seal before you even think of breaking it." Naruko nodded, absorbing every word. "I don't want to be a weapon of destruction. I want to protect. But sometimes, the seals themselves feel like chains holding back truth, not danger." Kaido smiled faintly, the lines on his face deepening. "Wise beyond your years. The seals we cast are not only barriers, they are choices. Each one a decision to hide, to suppress, or to protect. You must learn when to break, and when to bind tighter." In the evenings, they pored over ancient scrolls and texts, deciphering the cryptic symbols of their ancestors. Some seals were simple, protecting homes or securing dangerous weapons. Others were complex, binding powerful tailed beasts or imprisoning malevolent spirits that once threatened the world's balance. Naruko's own ability to break seals was unique because it was not mere force, but an intuitive resonance, as if she spoke the language of the seals themselves. One particular scroll caught her attention. It told of a legendary seal known as the Heart of the Abyss. It was said to imprison a force beyond understanding, a power that could either purify the world or consume it entirely. The scroll warned that only the Sealbreaker could release or contain this force, but doing so would come at a great personal cost. Naruko's pulse quickened as she traced the intricate patterns on the parchment. Could this be the seal that had shattered the Crimson Night? Could the forces unleashed be connected to the strange energy rippling through the village? Her questions were soon answered in the form of an unexpected visitor. One rainy night, as thunder rumbled and lightning cut through the darkness, a figure cloaked in shadows appeared at her doorstep. The visitor's eyes glowed faintly beneath the hood, sharp and searching. "I've been waiting for you, Naruko Uzumaki," the voice said, calm but laced with urgency. "The seals are breaking because the balance has shifted. The Heart of the Abyss is awakening, and only you can stand against what's coming." Naruko rose to meet the visitor's gaze, her heart pounding. "Who are you? How do you know my name?" "I am Kuro," the stranger replied. "A guardian bound to the seals you so easily break. I was sent centuries ago to watch over the heart, but now, I need your help." As the rain fell harder, Naruko felt the weight of her destiny settle more heavily upon her. She was no longer just a girl with a rare gift, she was the Sealbreaker, the key to a future uncertain and fraught with peril. And somewhere deep inside, a voice whispered, the true test was only beginning. Naruko sat cross-legged on the worn wooden floor of Kaido's humble training hut, the flickering light of a single candle casting long shadows across the room. The air smelled faintly of old paper and herbs, a comforting contrast to the turmoil twisting in her chest. Across from her, Kaido traced ancient seal patterns with slow, deliberate strokes, his voice calm but serious. "You must understand," he said, folding the scroll carefully, "that seals are more than just jutsu. They are contracts, agreements between the user, the target, and the world itself. Breaking one recklessly risks unraveling the very fabric of reality." Naruko frowned, tapping her fingers lightly on her knee. "But what if the seal is unjust? What if it's been placed out of fear or hatred, rather than necessity? Shouldn't we have the right to break free from that?" Kaido's eyes softened. "That is the dilemma. Many seals have been forged in desperation, in the heat of war or loss. Yet some of those bindings are the only things keeping greater evils at bay. To break a seal is to gamble with fate." Naruko's gaze dropped. "I feel it inside me. Like a pulse, demanding release. It's not just power. It's a call." Before Kaido could reply, the door creaked open. Naruko glanced up, surprised to see Kuro stepping inside, his cloak dripping from the rain. His eyes flickered with an unnatural glow, a mixture of ancient wisdom and something more distant. "Kaido," Kuro greeted, bowing his head slightly. "We don't have much time. The Heart of the Abyss stirs faster than expected." Kaido's face tightened. "I feared as much. Naruko, this is Kuro, a guardian spirit bound to the seals. He's been watching over the heart for centuries, waiting for the Sealbreaker to awaken." Naruko rose, wariness and curiosity warring within her. "How can I trust you?" Kuro's expression was unreadable, but his voice remained steady. "Because without your help, all will be lost. The seals are weakening, and shadows long thought vanquished will rise again." Naruko crossed her arms. "Why come to me now? Why not to the elders or the Hokage?" "The elders fear what you represent," Kuro admitted. "They fear change. But you are the catalyst. I have come to guide you. Suddenly, the door burst open again, and a young woman with fiery red hair and a mischievous grin stepped inside, dripping rainwater onto the floor. Looks like I'm not the only one drawn here by the storm, she said, eyes twinkling. Name's Akari, a friend of Kuro's, and maybe your unexpected ally. Naruko blinked. Another stranger? Akari laughed, shedding her wet cloak. Stranger? Maybe. But in times like these, allies come from the most unexpected places. I've seen what happens when seals break, both the good and the terrible. You'll want someone who's been there. Kaito gave a rare smile. Then perhaps it is time you all work together. The path ahead is dangerous, but united, you might stand a chance. Naruko felt a flicker of hope. For the first time, the burden of being the Sealbreaker felt lighter, because she was not alone. As days passed, Naruko's connection to the seals deepened in ways she hadn't anticipated. One evening, while meditating beneath the ancient Uzumaki tree, a sacred place said to be the origin of her clan's sealing techniques, she felt an unfamiliar presence flicker beneath the surface of her chakra. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and a faint glow erupted from the roots of the tree. From the glowing fissure emerged a small, shimmering orb of light, pulsing with delicate chains made of chakra. It hovered before her, fragile yet undeniably alive. I am Kesai, the orb spoke, its voice ethereal and soft, yet resonant in her mind. I am the seal of all seals, a living embodiment of the world's binding forces. Naruko's eyes widened. A living seal? How is that possible? Kesai's light flickered gently. Seals are not static. They evolve, breathe, and adapt. I was forged from the combined power of ancient chakra to maintain harmony. But now, I weaken, for the seals you break affect me directly. Your power is unique, Sealbreaker, but it disrupts the balance I uphold. Naruko clenched her fists. Then what? Am I the cause of destruction? Or the hope of renewal? Kesai's chains pulsed with a soft warmth. Both. To break a seal is to rewrite reality's code. You can choose to free those bound unjustly, or unravel the safeguards that protect us all. Your path is the fulcrum upon which the future balances. With that, Kesai reached out with a tendril of light, touching Naruko's forehead. Instantly, she was flooded with visions, seals breaking, worlds collapsing and reforming, people freed and imprisoned anew. The weight of centuries pressed upon her, but so did the thrill of uncharted power. You are the Sealbreaker, Kesai whispered. Not just breaker of chains, but breaker of cycles. The question remains, will you break the seals of oppression, or the seals that protect life itself? Naruko's heart raced. This was more than a power struggle, it was a challenge to her very purpose. When Kesai's light faded, Naruko rose, eyes blazing with renewed determination. She understood now that breaking seals was not merely a skill or a burden, but a sacred responsibility. Every broken seal was a choice, every chain broken a ripple in the tapestry of existence. Her journey was no longer just about mastering power, it was about understanding what must be freed, what must remain bound, and how to become the true Sealbreaker the world desperately needed. In the quiet moments after Kesai's revelation, Naruko found herself restless, her mind a turbulent sea of thoughts and emotions. The living seal's presence lingered like a whisper inside her consciousness, a constant reminder that her power was not just physical but existential. Kesai was no mere tool or enemy, it was the embodiment of the world's balance, an ancient consciousness that had woven together the countless seals protecting life itself. Naruko's nights became restless journeys through dreams and visions sent by Kesai, showing her the intricate web of seals binding the very essence of the natural and spiritual world. She saw how each seal was a thread holding together realms, memories, even the hearts of people. Yet she also saw the shadows beneath, seals placed not to protect, but to imprison souls unjustly, to silence truths for fear or control. One evening, as she trained with Kaito beneath the silver light of the moon, Naruko finally voiced her turmoil. Kaito, what if breaking a seal doesn't always bring freedom? What if some seals hold back pain, darkness, or chaos that the world isn't ready to face? Kaito's expression was grave. That is the burden of power, Naruko. The stronger the ability, the heavier the cost. You must weigh the freedom of one against the safety of many. Sometimes, breaking a seal is an act of mercy. Other times, it is madness. Her mind replayed Kesai's words, that she was the breaker of cycles, the one who could rewrite reality's code. But could she bear the consequences? Could she live with the chaos her choices might unleash? Kesai's presence answered her doubts not in words, but through visions that grew clearer with each passing day. Naruko saw a village consumed by darkness after a powerful seal was broken too soon. She saw a child freed from a cursed bond, blooming into light and hope. The line between destruction and salvation blurred. More than that, Kesai taught her that seals themselves were not inherently good or evil, they were reflections of the will and intent of those who cast them. To break a seal was to challenge the will behind it. This power made Naruko not just a breaker of chains, but a judge of justice and necessity. But this truth bred isolation. Could she trust others to understand the choices she must make? Could she risk breaking bonds with those who feared her power? In one of her most haunting visions, Naruko saw herself standing at a crossroads, one path leading to a world where all seals were broken, chaos reigning but freedom absolute, the other path leading to a world bound by seals, order maintained but many souls imprisoned and silenced. Kesai's light whispered, "Only you can decide, Sealbreaker. The world awaits your choice." Naruko's heart ached with the weight of that decision. The power to break seals was a double-edged sword, a liberation or a curse. The question was not whether she could break the seals, but whether she should, and at what cost. Her journey became one not just of physical battles, but of profound inner struggle, learning to discern the true nature of each seal she encountered, listening not only to her power but to her conscience. Kesai's role evolved from a guardian to a guide, offering wisdom but never answers. It challenged her to grow beyond being merely a wielder of power, to become a steward of balance. Naruko understood now, being the Sealbreaker meant embracing uncertainty, carrying the burden of choices that could save or shatter worlds. It meant walking a lonely path, but one that no one else could walk for her. One late afternoon, Naruko sat by the edge of the village's koi pond, the water's surface smooth and reflective like glass. The sun cast golden light on the ripples she created, but her thoughts were far from peaceful. In her hands, she held a small, ancient charm, a sealing talisman that had been passed down through generations of her family. It was said to imprison the spirit of her great-grandmother, a powerful shinobi who had sacrificed herself to protect the village from a forgotten calamity. The elders had always told Naruko never to break this seal, it was a sacred trust. Yet the spirit within was said to long for release, trapped in a timeless prison. Naruko's fingers trembled. Could she break this seal and free the soul of a woman she'd only heard stories about? Or was the spirit's imprisonment necessary, a sacrifice for the greater good? Kesai's voice echoed softly in her mind, gentle but probing. What weighs more, Naruko? The peace of the village, or the soul yearning for freedom? Naruko's heart ached. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Great-grandmother, if you could speak to me, would you want to be free? Or do you guard us still because you must?" The wind stirred the leaves above, as if the answer came from the very air itself. But no clear voice reached her. Only the silence of uncertainty. She finally placed the charm back in her satchel, choosing to wait, not because she feared the power, but because some decisions demanded patience and respect beyond her understanding. Another time, Naruko found herself sitting in the village tea house, the comforting warmth of the room contrasting with the cold dilemma she faced. An old friend, May, had confided in her a secret, a family curse sealed generations ago by fearful ancestors, binding May's spirit to a life of sorrow and limitation. Naruko could break the seal that shackled May's family, but doing so risked unraveling the delicate balance that had kept the curse from spreading. If freed prematurely, the curse might manifest in unpredictable ways, potentially harming May or those around her. May's eyes searched Naruko's face. "If you can help me, please do. But I trust you to decide what's best." Naruko felt the weight of her friend's trust pressing down. She wanted to say yes immediately, to end May's suffering, but Kesai's lessons echoed in her mind. She took May's hands gently. "This isn't just about breaking a seal, May. It's about understanding what the seal holds back, and what might be unleashed." They sat together in silence, sipping tea as Naruko promised to study the curse carefully. The choice wasn't hers alone to make, it was a shared journey, with trust as fragile as the seals themselves. In a quieter moment, Naruko visited the village shrine dedicated to those lost in past wars. Among the countless sealed memories stored in scrolls and relics was one particularly painful to her, a seal containing the final memories of her childhood friend, Haru, who had disappeared years ago during a secret mission. Breaking this seal could reveal the truth of what happened to Haru, providing closure to her family and friends. But it might also reopen old wounds, exposing betrayals and sorrows best left buried. Naruko knelt before the shrine, feeling the weight of generations in her chest. "What is more important?" she asked softly, "truth, or peace?" Kesai's light shimmered beside her, a quiet presence. The Sealbreaker's path is never easy. Sometimes, the right choice is the one that holds the most courage, not to break, but to wait. Naruko bowed her head, resolving to honor the silence for now. Some seals, she realized, were not meant to be broken in haste, but tended with care and understanding. One evening, as twilight draped the village in soft purples and golds, Naruko sat alone on the wooden steps of the Uzumaki clan's ancestral hall. The familiar scent of old cedar and incense filled the air. She held a small sealed jar in her hands, inside which swirled a faint, glowing mist, the trapped essence of a forgotten ancestor's will. This ancestor, renowned for her mastery of sealing jutsu, had locked away a dangerous power that, if released, could bring great destruction or incredible healing. The choice to break the seal had never been hers, until now. Naruko's fingers hovered over the seal, hesitant. To open it could mean unlocking wisdom and strength beyond anything the village had seen. But it could also unleash chaos. Her mind wandered to Kaido's teachings. Every seal is a pact. To break it is to renegotiate that pact, with the world, and with yourself. Her heart whispered doubts. Was she ready to carry that responsibility? Could she bear the burden of consequences no one else would understand? The wind carried a gentle rustling, and from the shadows stepped Kuro and Akari, their faces calm but expectant. Kesai's warning grows clearer, Kuro said quietly. The seals are fraying faster than ever. Your hesitation, while wise, cannot last forever. Akari nodded. But wisdom isn't just about action, it's about timing. Sometimes the bravest thing is to wait. Naruko looked up, eyes searching their faces. How do I know when it's time? When breaking a seal will heal, and when it will hurt? Kuro smiled faintly. You listen, not just to your power, but to those around you. To the world. To the chains themselves. Akari stepped forward, her hand resting gently on Naruko's shoulder. We'll walk this path with you. Not to decide for you, but to help you see the way. Naruko took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of their support. The weight on her shoulders didn't vanish, but it became a shared burden, lighter than before. She closed her eyes and pressed her palm to the jar's seal. Not yet, she whispered. Not until I understand more. Another quiet morning found Naruko visiting the village library, poring over ancient scrolls and manuscripts long forgotten. She searched for stories of others who had faced the burden of breaking seals, to find guidance, and perhaps a glimpse of hope. A gentle voice startled her. Looking for answers, Sealbreaker? Naruko turned to see an elderly librarian, her eyes bright with kindness and knowing. Have you come across tales of those like me? Who struggled with the cost of breaking seals? The librarian smiled warmly. Many stories, some lost to time. But the greatest lesson is this: the power to break a seal is also the power to choose what kind of future you create. It is not a curse, but a call. Naruko nodded slowly, feeling a spark of clarity. The librarian leaned closer. Remember, Naruko, every seal is a story. And every story deserves to be heard, respected, and understood before it is changed. As Naruko left the library, the weight of her role felt less like a solitary burden and more like a sacred trust. In the days that followed, Naruko found herself drawn more and more to the village's people, not as the Sealbreaker with mysterious powers, but as a friend, a confidant, a daughter of the Uzumaki. Each interaction grounded her in the reality of her choices. She helped an elderly woman repair a broken seal on her family heirloom, teaching her to renew the binding rather than break it. She listened patiently to a young boy's fears about the shadows in his dreams, offering reassurance without promises. In these moments, Naruko realized that breaking seals wasn't always about destruction or release. Sometimes, it was about healing, repairing, and strengthening bonds. Her power was not just to shatter chains, but to reshape them. The gentle hum of the village evening filled the air as Naruko walked slowly toward the training grounds, the fading sun casting long shadows over familiar paths. Tonight wasn't for fighting or mastering jutsu, but for a meeting, one she had hesitated to arrange for weeks. Waiting for her was Hana, her childhood friend and the village healer. Hana had always been pragmatic, grounded in the realities of pain and healing, yet she also carried an openness that Naruko found comforting. Hana, Naruko greeted softly, sitting beside her on a bench beneath a blossoming cherry tree. Naruko, Hana smiled warmly, eyes kind but probing. You seem distant lately. What's on your mind? Naruko sighed, looking up at the stars beginning to sprinkle the sky. It's the seals. And my power. Sometimes I feel like I'm carrying a weight no one else can see. I'm afraid of breaking something I shouldn't, hurting people unintentionally. Hana nodded thoughtfully. That's a heavy burden. But you don't have to carry it alone. Naruko glanced sideways. But you're the healer. You mend wounds after they happen. What if my choices cause wounds you can't heal? Hana's gaze was steady. Healing isn't just about fixing damage. Sometimes it's about holding space, listening, understanding, and helping someone face what's broken inside. If anyone can help you bear this, it's me. A silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken fears and the comfort of shared trust. Naruko's voice softened. I worry I'm losing myself to this role, the Sealbreaker. I don't want to be just a force or a tool. I want to be more than that. Hana reached out, taking Naruko's hand gently. You are more. You're a person with hopes, fears, and choices. And that's what makes you strong. The bond between them felt real, grounding Naruko in a way power never could. On another day, Naruko found herself in the village square, where an elderly man named Jiro sat carving a wooden charm. He was known for his quiet wisdom and connection to the village's history. Naruko approached cautiously. Jiro-san, may I ask you something? Jiro looked up, smiling kindly. Of course, Naruko. What troubles you? She hesitated, then spoke with honesty. What does it mean to be responsible for breaking something that's meant to protect? How do you know if you're doing the right thing? Jiro put down his carving tools, his eyes reflecting years of experience. That's a question many have asked before you. The truth is, sometimes there is no clear right or wrong. It's about intent, why you break the seal, and what you hope to build afterward. Naruko considered this. But what if your hope isn't enough? What if the consequences are beyond your control? Jiro smiled gently. Then you learn, you grow, and you keep moving forward. No one walks this path perfectly. It's the willingness to try, to care, and to hold others close that matters most. Naruko felt warmth spread through her chest. Thank you, Jiro-san. He nodded. Remember, Naruko, you are never truly alone. The village, the bonds you nurture, they are your strength. As weeks passed, Naruko's inner world began to shift. The once isolating power she carried became intertwined with the people she loved and the connections she cherished. She started to see her role not as a solitary burden but as a shared journey. In quiet moments, she confided in Kuro and Akari, learning from their perspectives and growing more confident in her choices. In her daily life, she found strength in laughter, in stories shared over tea, and in the simple acts of kindness that wove her more tightly into the fabric of her community. Her power to break seals was no longer just about force, it was about empathy, understanding, and the courage to embrace uncertainty. Naruko Uzumaki, the Sealbreaker, was becoming something new, a beacon of hope, not because she shattered chains recklessly, but because she chose carefully, loved fiercely, and carried her burdens with grace. The first light of dawn filtered through the paper windows of the ancient shrine where Kuro had made his home for centuries. Naruko stepped quietly inside, the familiar scent of incense and aged wood grounding her in a moment of calm before the day's burdens pressed down. Kuro sat cross-legged on a woven mat, his dark cloak folded neatly beside him. His eyes, deep and still like a midnight lake, regarded Naruko with a mixture of patience and something softer, a rare hint of care. You came early, Kuro noted, voice low and steady. Naruko sat across from him, folding her hands in her lap. I couldn't sleep. There's a question I can't shake. Kuro inclined his head, inviting her to speak. What does it mean to carry the power to break seals? When you don't know what you might lose in the process. Her voice was barely above a whisper. How do you balance the need to free what's trapped with the risk of unraveling what holds us together? Kuro's gaze darkened slightly, a shadow of the burden he himself had carried through countless ages. I was once like you, eager to break the chains that bound what I believed should be free. But I learned that some seals are not prisons, but protection. Others are wounds waiting to be healed. To break them without wisdom is to unleash chaos. Naruko looked down, feeling the weight of those words sink deep. But how do you know when to break them? How do you trust your own judgment? Kuro's lips curved into a faint, almost imperceptible smile. Trust is born from understanding, of yourself, and of the world. And from accepting that sometimes, the right choice is not clear until you walk the path. He paused, then added quietly, I have guarded seals that held the darkness of hatred, and seals that contain the light of hope. Both are fragile. Both must be treated with reverence. Naruko met his eyes, searching for the certainty she longed for. Do you believe I can become a guardian like you? Not just a breaker? Kuro's expression softened, his ancient eyes reflecting a spark of hope. I believe you must become both. The Sealbreaker is also the seal keeper, the one who understands that breaking a seal is not the end, but a transformation. You will forge new bonds from broken chains. Naruko felt a warmth spread through her chest, a mixture of resolve and relief. Then I won't be alone. You'll guide me? Kuro nodded slowly. Always. But the path is yours to walk. I can only walk beside you. As the sun rose higher, casting golden light across the shrine's wooden beams, Naruko felt something shift within her, a growing confidence tempered by humility. Her journey as the Sealbreaker was no longer just about power, but about partnership, wisdom, and balance. And with Kuro by her side, she was ready to face whatever seals awaited her breaking, or protecting. Weeks after their conversation in the shrine, Naruko found herself drawn again to Kuro's quiet sanctuary, but this time the weight on her shoulders felt heavier. She carried with her a scroll, ancient and fragile, detailing a complex seal that bound not a spirit, but a concept, an emotion, despair. The village had recently been shadowed by a creeping sadness, invisible yet pervasive, seeping into hearts like a slow poison. The elders believed it was contained within a seal woven centuries ago, designed to protect the people from losing hope during a great calamity long past. Naruko knew that breaking this seal might free those shackled by despair, but could also release an overwhelming flood of anguish, threatening to drown the village's spirit. She approached Kuro beneath the twilight sky, the air crisp and filled with the scent of pine. Kuro, she began, voice tentative, this seal. It holds despair, but it's also a shield. If I break it, I risk more pain than relief. How do I decide if freeing pain is worth the cost? Kuro regarded the scroll carefully, his fingers tracing the delicate seals like a sculptor feeling the contours of a masterpiece. This is not a simple chain, he said quietly. It is a delicate balance between protecting the village's heart and imprisoning the very feeling that can sometimes teach strength. Naruko frowned, conflicted. Is it right to lock away an emotion, even a painful one? Are we not denying ourselves the chance to grow through hardship? Kuro nodded thoughtfully. True. But some burdens must be carried when the world is not ready. The Sealbreaker's gift is also their burden, to sense when the time is right for release. He stood and walked to a small basin, dipping his hands into the cool water. The seal is alive in a way, responding to the collective will of the village. To break it blindly would be to ignore their unspoken readiness or resistance. Naruko's mind raced. Then the choice isn't just mine, it's ours. The Sealbreaker is a bridge between power and people. Kuro smiled softly, eyes reflecting the emerging stars. Exactly. You must listen not only to the seals, but to the hearts of those they protect. Trust grows from connection, not isolation. Naruko folded the scroll carefully. I will speak with the village. I will learn what they carry within before I break this seal. Kuro placed a steady hand on her shoulder. And I will help you listen. Together, beneath the vast night sky, Naruko understood that her power was a responsibility woven from trust, empathy, and patience. The Sealbreaker was not just a wielder of might but a guardian of balance, between freedom and protection, pain and healing, past and future. Her journey continued, no longer a solitary path but a shared quest for harmony. The village square was alive with the soft murmur of voices and the warm glow of lanterns as dusk settled. Tonight, Naruko stood before the gathered villagers, not as a mysterious wielder of power, but as one of their own, a daughter of Uzumaki who carried a sacred responsibility. She held the ancient scroll describing the seal of despair in her hands, feeling the weight of generations in the fragile parchment. Around her, familiar faces looked up with a mix of curiosity, hope, and uncertainty. Naruko took a steady breath. Friends, I come to you not only as the Sealbreaker but as someone who shares your lives, your joys, and your fears. An elder nodded slowly, his eyes reflecting decades of wisdom. We know of the seal that holds despair, young one. It has kept our hearts guarded through times dark and bright. But it is also a prison, Naruko continued. One that can trap pain, silence sorrow, and prevent healing. I must decide if and when to break this seal, but I cannot decide alone. A mother spoke up, her voice trembling slightly. If the seal is broken, will our suffering return? Will our children be safe? Naruko looked toward the mother's young daughter playing nearby, her laughter bright and pure. That is why I am here. To listen, to understand what you carry inside, even what you might not say. She invited the villagers to share their stories, whispers of loss, moments of courage, silent battles fought behind smiles. Each voice wove together a tapestry of collective experience, illuminating the true nature of the seal, not just a barrier, but a reflection of the village's resilience. As the night deepened, Naruko felt their trust grow, mingling with her own fears and hopes. She realized that being the Sealbreaker meant holding a mirror to her people, recognizing their strength and their fragility. Kuro's words echoed softly in her mind, "You are the bridge." Naruko spoke again, her voice clear and steady. "I will honor your stories and your hearts. If the time comes to break the seal, we will do so together, step by step, with care and courage. A wave of relief and gratitude rippled through the crowd. The seal was no longer just a mysterious force, it was a shared burden, a bond between Naruko and her village. That night, as the lanterns flickered and the village slowly drifted to sleep, Naruko sat beneath the stars, feeling the strength of community kindle within her. The path of the Sealbreaker was no longer hers alone to bear, it was theirs to walk, side by side. Months passed since the village meeting beneath the lantern-lit sky, and the air itself seemed lighter. The seal of despair still held strong, but it no longer felt like a looming shadow. Instead, it was a symbol of shared strength, a reminder of what they had faced together. One crisp morning, Naruko walked through the village, greeted by warm smiles and nods from neighbors who no longer saw her as distant or mysterious, but as one of them. Children ran up to her, laughter in their eyes, asking questions about her seals and powers, not with fear, but with wonder. She paused near the koi pond, where Hana and Kuro waited. Hana handed her a delicate flower crown woven from cherry blossoms, its petals soft and fragrant. "For you," Hana said gently, "for the courage to carry us all." Kuro nodded with a rare softness in his gaze. The Sealbreaker has become the heart of the village. Naruko smiled, her fingers brushing the blossoms. "I never thought this power would bring me so much closeness instead of loneliness." Hana squeezed her hand. "Because it's not just about breaking seals. It's about building connections." Kuro stepped forward, offering a quiet blessing. "And remember, every bond you nurture is stronger than any seal you break." Naruko looked out over the village, feeling the warmth of the sun and the weightlessness of trust. She realized then that her true power was not in unbinding chains alone, but in weaving a tapestry of hope and understanding that bound them all. With the flower crown resting lightly on her head, Naruko Uzumaki smiled, not as a solitary sealbreaker, but as a beloved guardian of her people's hearts. The seals she carried were no longer just obstacles or burdens, but promises of a future built together. And in that promise, she found peace. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose, Naruko sat quietly beneath the blossoming cherry tree, the same one where she had once wrestled with doubt and fear. Now, the gentle breeze carried not only petals but a profound sense of calm. She breathed deeply, feeling the pulse of the village all around her, the laughter of children, the chatter of neighbors, the steady rhythm of life woven through every smile and every shared moment. "I was once afraid," she thought, "afraid that my power would isolate me, that breaking seals meant breaking bonds." But now she knew the truth, her role as the Sealbreaker was never about solitude or destruction. It was about connection, listening deeply, choosing wisely, and carrying her power with humility and love. The seals she guarded were reflections of her people's hearts, and with their trust, she had learned that strength came not from force alone, but from the delicate balance of protection and release. Naruko smiled softly, the flower crown resting lightly on her head, warm against her skin. "I am not alone. I am a part of something greater. A village, a family, a future." And in that belonging, she found her true power. The village square shimmered with lanterns swaying softly in the evening breeze, their warm light reflecting in the bright eyes of children and elders alike. A festival had been prepared, not one of grand displays or battle, but of togetherness. Naruko moved among her people with a peaceful smile, accepting flowers, laughter, and heartfelt thanks. The villagers had crafted small charms symbolizing their shared strength, each one blessed by Hana's healing hands and Kuro's silent wisdom. Music floated through the air, simple melodies played on flutes and drums, echoing through the trees and weaving into the stars above. At the heart of the celebration, Naruko stood beneath the cherry tree, where the petals danced gently around her like a soft rain. Her flower crown sparkled faintly in the lantern light. From the crowd, a young child approached and shyly offered her a hand-woven bracelet, a symbol of friendship and trust. Naruko took it with a radiant smile. "Thank you. This means everything to me." The villagers cheered softly, their voices rising in a chorus of hope. In that moment, Naruko understood fully, her journey as the Sealbreaker was not just a path of power, but a circle of hearts joined together, fragile, yet unbreakable. As the night deepened, Naruko's laughter mingled with the music, her spirit light and free. The seals she once feared to break now symbolized the trust and love she carried, a legacy not of fear, but of healing and unity. And so, beneath the blossoming tree and the watchful stars, Naruko Uzumaki embraced her true destiny, not as a lone breaker of seals, but as a beloved guardian of hope. Dear YouTube family, that's a wrap for today. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe and join the journey. Sending lots of love and gratitude your way. Stay awesome. 6 Path Weeb.